if it's possible to cast Obsidian. This proved to be a major challenge that took 6 attempts, broke multiple crucibles, and 2 different kilns. But I didn't want to stop until I finally had success at casting Obsidian. For an initial small test knife, I carved a model out of styrofoam and then packed it into the sand. Once poured, the hot glass will burn out the styrofoam and fill in its place. Like regular glass, if my cast obsidian cools too rapidly, it'll fracture and shatter. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough, and it still ended up shattering. But the most interesting result was that the remelted obsidian turned out fairly transparent, with just a slight amber color. Regrinding this glass, I started a new batch, but this time, assuming it got more clear because of the flux, I thought I'd attempt to counteract it by adding some new impurities back in. Specifically, I added in some metals that are often used in glass making to dye glass black, nickel and chromium, which gave it a nice dark color, very similar to what it started with. Now, to cast it. So I'm going to try and cast this toy Roman sword in obsidian. But I don't want the handle to be obsidian, so I'm going to cut that off. Unfortunately, by the time it came to pour it, my crucible had cracked, and the majority of the obsidian had leaked out. So, let's keep going. Collecting as much of the previous attempt as I could, plus adding some more crushed obsidian, and some more flux, I'm ready to go again. This time with a very promising pour. Let's see what we got.
Dreams. Shattered dreams.
So, we're gonna go over there, give it one more shot, do it the right way. So, I think I'm just gonna do the whole thing obsidian. So I'm just super gluing the handle back on. I'll sand cast it once more, and hopefully we'll finally have the obsidian sword. Working with Foci, I learned how sand casting for glass is done a slightly different way. Instead of packing the sand tightly around the mold, you lightly place a mold into the sand and pack it only along the edge. The idea is to allow the air to escape through the sand, so it doesn't bubble up through the glass like it did last time. Then, they also torch the sand to leave a fine layer of carbon on top, so the glass can better release from it. So after 6 attempts, I finally managed to cast a full obsidian blade. Unfortunately, in the annealing process, it got a little cracked and probably can't polish it off and put a nice edge on it, unfortunately. I took quite a bit of flux in order to make it castable, which made it a bit difficult to actually temper. It's kind of messed up the whole annealing and made it a bit weaker. So it's more ceremonial at this point. Despite all the mythology around obsidian, it's really fragile. It's just glass, and so putting through a whole different process than how the obsidian originally formed, which is evident when it became pretty transparent at one point. And then I had to add the additional dyes in order to turn it back into black. So it's kind of debatable if this is obsidian, but it is definitely made from obsidian. And took a lot of attempts, so I finally made it. So this took 6 attempts and broke 2 crucibles and 2 kilns. Just fixed this guy, and the last time this crucible cracked, it leaked the obsidian all over it and eroded and did a ton of damage. Fortunately, it's still working at this point, but don't want to push my luck too much. So, as much as I enjoy making unprofitable videos, I think I'm going to call it at this point. Say it's complete.